Hello, welcome to DeKalb Talks Tourism. This is our first ever streaming online podcast, so we're very excited to welcome Elaine from here in DeKalb and Alex from in Denver, you said?
Yep, Denver, Colorado.
So Alex, go ahead and tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a full-time artist based in technically Golden, Colorado, but we just say the greater Denver area. And I've been here since 2017, and I am the founder of Babe Walls. So yeah, really excited to be here today. Thank you for having us.
So we're going to dive into that in just a minute. So Elaine, tell us about yourself.
My name is Elaine Stephenson. I'm an artist based here in Atlanta and DeKalb. And I've been painting full-time since 2021 as a muralist and artist. Before that, I was a graphic designer for about 10 years. Went to the University of Georgia, so I've lived in Georgia most of my life. And yeah, I've just been getting into the public art world the past few years, and starting to work with the city of Chamblee on some projects like Babe Walls and a sidewalk mural coming up in the spring.
So before we dive into Babe Walls, you're an artist. Do you have a studio, or since yours is it more mural sidewalk focused, so you can't really have a studio? Or
Yeah, so I do have a home studio for working on fine art and paintings and design work and that sort of thing. But most of my business is based on murals, so I go out to the site mostly walls to paint. Yeah.
Okay. We'll come back to that, I know. So, Alex, it seems like Babe Walls is your brainchild. So, how did that occur? What was it? What inspired you to do this?
Yeah, so when I moved to Colorado back in 2017, I started working for the Rhino Art District in Denver. And I was working at their retail gallery and had a lot of connections with the local artists. That was part of my job to really sell their work. And so something that I noticed with a lot of the women was that there was a lack of representation in the street art scene. So being an artist myself and wanting to be involved in the street art scene, that was something that I found very difficult to do. So just kind of thought that maybe it would be cool if we just started our own, if we weren't going to be given the opportunity to be represented, well, we would just make our own opportunity. So myself and 7 other artists based in Denver kind of came together and created Babe Walls. And we had our very first festival in 2020 in Westminster, which is just about 10 minutes outside of Denver, just north of that. And yeah, we ended up fundraising over $50,000 in the middle of the pandemic to be able to produce that festival. So yeah, it was a really groundbreaking experience for us. But after that festival, there was such a huge response and support that we really felt that this was more than just a one-time thing and that this is something that we needed to continue. And at this point, we have a nationwide community, and we were really excited to be able to partner with Elaine this past November to be able to do that festival in Chamblee.
So how many have you done now? How many different cities?
So technically 3 different greater areas. So we did Denver, we did Westminster in 2020, and then we did Arvada in 2021. And then in 2022, we actually had a mini festival and then a full-blown festival. So our mini festival was in Adams County, here also in Colorado. And then we did our first out-of-state festival in Fort Yates, North Dakota, which was on the Standing Rock Reservation. So that was a really unique experience and something that was really transformative for our group and our organization. And then we skipped a year actually in 2023, and then we did Chamblee for 2024.
So either one of y'all can answer. I mean, this might be Elaine, that I don't know. I'm assuming, so I'm not going to assume. How did you get to Chamblee in DeKalb County?
Elaine, you want to take that?
Yeah. Well, I'd say because I reached out to Babe Walls and said I really wanted to bring them to Georgia. And I think I reached out in 2020 or 2021, right after they started, when I saw the Female Festival popping up. And, in Atlanta, we have a couple mural festivals during the year, but none of them are women focused. And while there is pretty good representation, a lot of the festivals still feature mostly male artists. So, and I know we have a really talented pool of female artists here and really wanted to bring something to highlight those artists. So Alex and I kind of emailed a few times over the years, like just to check in. And then we connected again when I think they were ready to do their next festival. And she has family here, so we thought it would be a good connection to sort of bridge her two worlds and come to Georgia, a different area of the country. And we found a good partner in the city of Chamblee when we were trying to figure out where to host the festival. So it all worked out.
So I was wondering how you would be in Decatur, and Decatur is a very artsy community. I was just curious how you, not that it's that far, but how did you jump out of the Decatur area and get into the Chamblee area?
Yeah, just through local connections. I mean, for this festival, we had a lot of big and specific asks to find a place that had a lot of walls and that was willing to fund and support us, because part of Babe Walls' mission is to pay artists for what they're worth for the festival. And so reaching out to our local connections, I had already had a connection with the city of Chamblee, and they were very open to the idea. So we were able to start discussions there.
So interesting. It's a festival. So is this something you hope to do annually in DeKalb, or I mean, I'm assuming I don't want to assume. Will you bring this back to Chamblee again for, I guess, really be this year because it was last year? Or does it move around? Will it move around DeKalb, or what's kind of the future plan for you all?
For Babe Walls as a whole?
Babe Walls as a whole, and then you talk about Babe Walls as a whole, and then is there any future plans for in DeKalb going forward? So it's kind of two conversations.
I guess for Babe Walls as a whole, our mission is to really go where we're needed and where we can collaborate with a group of artists to help uplift their local women and non-binary artist scene. So we're more than welcome to open that conversation to come back to DeKalb County if the opportunity arises. But we also like going into places and collaborating with their local artist community to lift them up and therefore allow them to be able to form their own chapter per se and be able to continue the work there, highlighting their local artists. Because that's really what our mission is about when we're traveling, is we don't want to highlight, artists from out of state. We're there to collaborate with the local artists there and uplift them and their community. So if an opportunity arises, then I would probably push that on to Elaine and she can, facilitate that.
Elaine, tell us about the event we had here in Chamblee. So all the artists were local based?
Yeah, so Babe Walls, since they're a nonprofit, like Alex said, is made up of 7 or 8 members. And so all of them were able to travel to Atlanta, mostly from Colorado, but from different parts of the country and from Mexico even. And so some of their artists were paired with local Georgia artists, because part of their mission is also creating like collaborative murals where they paired 2 artists together to create something unique and share ideas and learn from each other. And for this festival, we ended up having so many walls and opportunities along Chamblee's rail trail. They have this tunnel and they have multiple columns underneath a highway support, that in the tunnels, they're so big, we were able to have the collaborative murals there. And then we were also able to paint the columns, and there we selected individual artists, and those were all local Georgia-based artists. So 12 female artists that are based here. Some had done murals before, some it may have been their first mural. So it was a great learning opportunity for them. And then the bigger walls had some of the more experienced artists paired together.
Just watching the video, it's very cool of what you all did in a short period of time. That's what I think is so amazing. And I was talking to Mayor Mock of Chamblee, and it just has seriously transformed the pathway and the underpasses and different areas of Chamblee. And then just recently had their director from the city of Chamblee on this podcast, and she had just this wonderful tour utilizing Babe walls. It started like a distillery of modern art, tying in food and art, and then took you through downtown and different murals and sculptures and things like that. And then it really ended with the pathway with Babe walls and all. And it was such a new and interesting thing, because I asked her, what's the one thing must do, must see in DeKalb? And I say, and you can't just say, see Chamblee. So she went into this detail using art. Like I said, whether it's distillery modern art with craft cocktails or art in the building, then art downtown, but then Babe Walls really ended the whole concept. And I thought that was just so delightful when she brought that up, and you two and others, of course, was the creation of that. And it's just exciting to hear about.
Yeah, it was a really great experience, and Chamblee was probably one of the best partners that we've ever had since we started doing this. So yeah, it was honestly, from being, out in Colorado and to come into a community that we didn't know very well, there was such an immediate welcoming, just handshake between ourselves and the Atlanta artist community that I would say that it was like one of our favorite festivals to this point.
That's cool. So there's a question down here. Now, answer this from a perspective, which is me. I like art. I love art. Like to promote art, but I'm not an artist. I mean, I used to play the violin as far as that goes, but I'm not an artist, but I love it. So tell me, what does it take to be a muralist? And that's not getting a bucket of paint and just going, because I can do that. So what does it take to be one?
Yeah, a lot of work for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think so. I went full-time artist in 2022 and have been doing large-scale murals since 2018. I think that kind of the biggest thing that helped jumpstart my career was just networking and really being involved with the local community and leaning on your community to be able to find out information if you have questions. But I think that there are a lot of tools out there to help, make being an artist more accessible, and, really relying on those tools, whether those be people or technology. So yeah, I think that it's a lot of research and a lot of creativity, but a lot of dedication to your practice and making sure that you are, really, educated on not only the area in which you're painting, but, the community that you're painting with as well.
Yeah, and I would say, I didn't have being a muralist on my radar for a very long time. It sort of happened organically when I started as a graphic designer. So I already, was interested in the art world and the design world and creating things, but I really had a desire to express more of like my artistic vision and aesthetic than what my design profession allowed me to do, which was more like problem solving based, but for communication. But painting murals still is solving a lot of problems. You use a lot of problem solving skills, whether it's to think about what we want to do with this wall or this mural in a certain area, like what's the goal, what's the vision, who's the audience, those kind of things. And like making the leap from just being a digital designer to a muralist wasn't all that huge for me once I had those skills, and I enjoyed painting on a small scale. I just had to learn how to do it on a big scale. And those are the kind of things anyone can learn and teach themselves or learn from others and practice. And you just kind of gain skills the more projects you do and can do bigger and bigger ones.
Let me ask your artwork, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
Oh, I was just going to say it also takes a lot of energy because they're very physically demanding and tiring, and it can look really glamorous, but it's often very dirty, sweaty work.
So my question is, do you try again, I'm diving into this because I like art, but I'm not an artist. So do you try to tell a story with each mural, or is it just more of a open artistic expression?
So I
Either one
think,
of you.
yeah, it really just is different per artist. So, like for myself, the work that I do focuses on highlighting local flora and fauna within the area that I'm painting. So, I really want there to be, a source of conservation and education behind the murals that I'm doing. So, that's where I really make a point to tell a story, is telling the story of the plants and animals that are there within that area. And then, Elaine, I know yours
Okay.
is different. So,
Yeah, I mean, the stories mine tell really are more about sharing positive messages and um, encouraging like uplifting feelings through positive, like bright, cheerful colors, through nature, which brings people joy to look at, and um, sometimes literal messages like words to inspire people. Um, but it depends on the project too. Like if there's a community who wants to bring like their story to life, then it's like about collaborating with that community and figuring out how to tell that story. Just different projects have different goals, and each muralist brings their own style to that approach.
That's
Yeah, and that,
pretty. I
but yeah,
like that picture.
that's the mural that Alex and I collaborated on together, bringing both our styles. The blue one with Chamblee up top and the bird and the cat and butterflies and flowers. So
I've
um,
never seen
yeah.
this view. I think I've seen different aspects, but
Mhm.
not this full complete view. That's extremely cool. Look at the giant. Well, that cat is huge.
Yeah.
Yes, very, very neat. So, do you all have any type of Alex, when you've been in a city and a couple years later, do you have any like feedback or any research that talks about what that's really contributed to the city? I mean, I would think it's got to be something astounding, but many times it's not something you usually put your hand or your fingers to. Do you know any like what actually has occurred a couple years later from a city?
Yeah, I would say that mural art is extremely significant in just bringing positivity to an area. I know where we had our first festival in Westminster, where we were painting. Um, wasn't necessarily the brightest area, but since we came in and put those murals in, I know that there have been higher fill rates in the apartment buildings, less crime, and so I really think that that significantly helps bring more positivity and like brightness to an area. We did do an underpass in Arvada in 2021, and that's along their bike path. And I know that there have been a significant amount of tours that go through there. So there's really just bringing, more life to an area. But yeah, I think it is really hard to put a numbers game on it. But
Right.
more of like over time, seeing the amount of positivity that radiates from that area is definitely noticeable.
Yeah, and I think it can also just start a desire for more art and more spaces like what you do. You paint a mural in one area and people want to see more murals painted, or you know the community generally really loves like what we do, and so you can just really see the example by how much murals have proliferated over the past few years and how everyone wants a mural. All the new developments are now including murals because they really see that it adds value, it adds desirability to wanting to bring people there. um, so yeah, it's awesome to see how it's spread and become popular.
So one thing in the very beginning, you mentioned you did walls and you did sidewalk. So is sidewalk murals the same thing? It's just, of course, it's flat on the ground. I
um,
mean,
Yeah, I mean, that's just one type of project that can be done. Like for murals, I mean, you could paint a mural on almost any surface, walls being the most popular. Um, you can also paint murals on the ground and on ceilings. And I've painted, I painted a basketball court on the ground, and I painted one sidewalk mural, and I have an upcoming sidewalk mural in the city of Chamblee in downtown. Um, but I'll say sidewalk like ground murals are very challenging. They're not my favorite, so I prefer the wall murals. And in Athens, Georgia, this past fall, I painted a bridge underpass, and part of that was like the ceiling, like beams going across. So painting up, and which is challenging as well. Yeah, you can paint power boxes, bike racks. Like there's just so much that you can apply mural art to. Yeah, and that's a video from the Athens mural project.
I would think painting a sidewalk would be tough because you can't step back and see it. You can't get a really good angle to view what you're doing to know where you are on things. But that's just me.
It definitely takes a different strategy to figure out how you're applying the design, and yeah, getting a bird's eye view of it. You could fly a drone up to try and get an overhead
Right.
view, which could help. But yeah, definitely different considerations for different kind of projects, different constraints.
You mentioned you have something coming up in Chamblee, so can you talk about a little bit about that?
Yes, yes, downtown Chamblee, not far from the city hall. There's a small intersection corner with a sidewalk, um, where they were having an issue with cars driving sort of over the sidewalk because there's no curb there. So we decided to paint some mural art there to help delineate the pedestrian space from the street space. And it's going to be a design of different sized and colorful flowers that we're going to paint in the spring. So it'll be a functional art piece, and that it has a goal of traffic calming and safety for pedestrians, but also brightening the area.
I'll tell you, but something that told me the power of murals was I've been here for 14 years. Somewhere in the 10 plus years, I had a photographer in, and she was very artistic, and she took a picture of a mural in an underpass downtown Chamblee. And that mural, and then how it has the lights from the nighttime, the cameras, that mural was the most popular picture that we've used for Chamblee. It actually got to the point where I'd seen it so much, I was bored of seeing it. Not that it wasn't cool, it never lost its coolness, but it's like, okay, I've seen this thing for so long, but we couldn't move it at that time because it was like the coolest shot. Everybody's like, well, where's this picture? So that really kind of taught me the power of what you all do, creating these murals on these walls and sidewalks. And it's right there. She took this, and it's just the premier Chamblee shot up until probably now.
Yeah, that's a cool shot.
So, and then this other Chamblee wall is a focal point. It's in our Chamblee newsletter, the one that just has the giant Chamblee on it. It's going to be interesting when we get ready to shoot the new Chamblee magazine, because you all have so much more to add to it. Plus, there's from the art side the new sculpture that's over on MARTA and things like that. So the new guide will really be majorly different when we probably produce it later this year. Just being able to showcase your all's work. Are you looking at doing, and I'm going to say a QR code, there's probably different ways of doing this, but say a QR code on the different art pieces to showcase who you are and what was the inspiration for doing it? Is that something you all do on any of these festivals or future from the festivals?
I think Tanisha from the city of Chamblee was putting together their art walk virtually online, which will have connections to each mural, will be titled. It'll list the artists that collaborated if there was a collaboration, and then links to their websites or Instagrams. So I think that will be available. I'm not sure if they were going to put anything on the outside of them. Elaine, do you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But pretty much every muralist does is like sign their work, usually with an Instagram handle, so that we can easily like be found. But yeah, that's a good idea. I'm not sure. Maybe they'll have a a plaque or something to connect people to the story map around town.
Because I think the website's a great idea. I remember talking about it on the podcast, but just in tourism, you're trying to think of how can a person who falls in love with this piece go straight to you all to find more information,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, I
So
think sometimes we can sign our stuff obnoxiously so that people make sure to find us. So I think we signed ours pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah, you
that's
just
good.
gotta
Well,
look around
guys,
and see who painted this.
Hmm.
yeah. So, any great stories you want to tell about this project, or your favorite story from the project, or anything?
I think that this whole project was just like such a fun thing. I know that the weather was wild for us. Like, I think we went through all of the seasons within the 4 days that we were there. So, it always proves an extra challenge when you're also having to deal with the weather. I know that last day, Elaine and I were having to like wipe the wall with a towel because it was raining before we would paint. And um, so, it's interesting when we only have a short period of time to be able to get these large scale murals done, because you really have to dive in and there's a lot of teamwork involved. And like Elaine said, a lot of problem solving. So to be able to see all of the artists problem solve on their walls was, really interesting and just really fun. But I don't know, like it definitely serves as there's a lot of energy within the space when we're all painting. You get that many creative minds together and it's a vibe. So yeah, it was really fun. But I think Saturday was our biggest day. We had so many people come through and had so much positive feedback from the community. And so it was really cool to be able to meet the people that were going to be seeing those murals every day firsthand and the impact it was going to have on them.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was going to say too, is that sometimes you uh, work on a mural project or even a small art event or a festival, and you never really know what the response is going to be, the turnout, how many people are going to come. And I was very surprised with how many people turned out, just crowds of people walking down the street, the sidewalk, watching us work. Um, and we got several comments from people. I think there was this older gentleman who walked by and probably stopped and talked to every artist and like just told us how much he appreciated this, and maybe he lived nearby and walked the trail a lot, and just how much life it brought to the trail. And so it's just really rewarding hearing those kind of experiences when you're working on a mural. Kind of validates what you do.
One last question before we're going to let you talk about how they can find you. Maybe more so for Alex, though. Elaine, still free to answer. Any favorite places to eat or anything that you thought was really special and while you're in town?
So my family lives there. So when I was in town, I didn't really get to explore a lot. I think that that's one thing that's really hard too. Whenever we do these festivals is we're working all day. So it's really hard for us to be able to like get the energy to go out to eat afterwards. But we did spend time at Block and Drum. They were really awesome. They sit right there along the trail. They did, a meet and greet night for us. And so they had live music going and food trucks and drinks. And so that was really unique to be able to experience that and to also have the artists come out that we're painting with. Because sometimes, we're painting right next to each other, but we don't have the time to be able to sit and chat. So to be provided that opportunity, I felt like was really instrumental in building those connections, which is a huge mission of Babe Walls, to be able to build those connections across cities so that artists can feel like they have connections in Denver, Atlanta, North Dakota, Florida, wherever, vice versa. So I would say that was the only place that I could say that I went. And then we went to, Elaine, what was that place that we did our artist dinner at that was really great? They were so awesome.
It was a really good Thai place called Serena Thai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been there yet.
They were very good.
It.
Yeah. And super accommodative. We were able to bring our whole team there. So I think we had like 31 artists that were all eating together. And that was really great. Yeah. So those are the two places that I was able to eat while I was there. So Elaine, you probably have more experience than I do.
Yeah, there's there's so many great places in Chamblee and along like Buford Highway. I know I enjoy going to the Chinatown food court because
Yes.
there's a lot of different restaurant you could choose from right there to find something to eat. So um, yeah,
The cool thing about the Chinatown in Chamblee is it's the only one in the South. You have an historic one in New
that is
Orleans,
cool.
in Houston. It's not really there anymore. So we're the only Chinatown in the South. So that's kind of another
Hmm.
cool selling point. So before we end the show, how does our viewers and our listeners find you all?
They can find Babe Walls. So we have an Instagram at Babe Walls, and then we also have our website, which is www.babewalls.com. And that's going to have a list of our events, our artists that we've had in all of our festivals, the walls that they've painted, any sort of contact or way that people can get a hold of us. And then for my personal, it's at Alexandrea_Pang is my Instagram. And then my website is www.alexandreapangburn.com. So yeah, we are a 501c3. So we love partnering with people and just continuing to partner with communities and be able to uplift the women and non-binary scene in street art.
And Elaine, how do they find you for your arts or want to start another one of these in DeKalb?
Yeah, my website is ElaineStephenson.com, and that's Stephenson with a PH. And on Instagram, I'm artsy Elaine, artsy_Elaine. And yeah, the festival I think was a really great experience, and I know we would love to bring more female-focused art events around DeKalb and Fulton. One other thing I do is I run a local group called ATL Art Gals. That is a local art collective, and I'm trying to sort of evolve it now to do more projects that are collaborative, focused on women, and is a supportive community lifting up other female artists. So yeah, we would love to do more art around DeKalb.
Well, I want to say thank you both for being on the show. I appreciate it. I've learned a lot, had a good time. I hope you all enjoyed being on, and want to, anytime you do this again, we'd love to have you back on the show. So just want to thank you and thank our listeners, viewers. Please tune in to the next show.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.